Hello, testing this mic. Checking, looks good. Looks like it's reading my cat fountain again, but that's okay. Let me move it down a little more so you can hear me a little better maybe. Seems like that's good. Alright, let me get this switched over. Hello Rebel Star, hello Hollowline, hello Curry. Good, glad you guys can hear me. Long time no see. Let's transition this. I am yet again back with a slightly adjusted camera angle. Last one was pretty good, but I have to manually adjust it every time now because I use my camera for different stuff. So let's switch it over. Pretty good, looks good. We'll maybe have to adjust as we're painting. I did already set it to autofocus on like one specific area, so if I pull it, the figure forward, etc., you guys won't be able to see it quite as well, but we'll figure it out. I don't have access to the viewfinder from this angle, so I'm kind of like just guesstimating where it will be. But anyway, hello, nice to see you all. It has been a while. As you can see, this face has gone through a few steps, mostly in order to save time and kind of speed things up, because really what's left is just detailing. Let me actually change this song because I don't want voice over when I'm talking. Okay. So yeah, I did a bunch of work, well, a little bit of work over the weekend, mostly just adding layers, figuring out things. I will zoom this up close in just a second. Hope you are well. Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing all right. Just, back to school, and so school's getting busy, and sometimes I'm just like not feeling it, which is why I canceled last week's stream. The Wednesday before that was like really tiring, so was not able to. But anyway, bunch of work has been done. Let me get this up close so hopefully you can see it. And there we go. So as you can see, this little Chun-Li monk has had a few steps of her eyes done. I think last time, really we had only put down that kind of like middle brown, so that mid-tone. So I added a couple of different shades of brown. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with this kit, but at this point, I think all that's really left is I'm planning to add a little bit of gold in her eyes and then her eyes shine. So that, white dot that you always see in anime eyes, that's gonna go kind of in the top left corner here. Oh, kind of like that, where that light is shining on her eye. That's where I'm planning to put it. So really that'll give it that natural effect, like her eyes are always shining. Like right now, she still looks like her eyes are kind of like, dead. Still looking kind of spooky. The eye shine is really where it starts to look like, something and like an anime character. So we'll be doing that tonight. Let me just kind of show you guys the image I did on my phone. There was two versions that I was thinking of. One of them has, we got the gold details and we have kind of a dot eye. So the dot is just, I placed it in Photoshop, or not Photoshop, my phone. And the other version is very similar. The only difference is that instead of a dot, it's kind of like a scribble. So you don't necessarily, like you're not locked into just doing a dot when you're painting anime eyes. You can do all sorts of things. You can do scribbles, you can do, different types of eye shine. And so I'm kind of liking this one. I think it's really cute, and it kind of has a contrast with the center, which is a circle, but sometimes it's a little bit hard for me to paint this because I get kind of like perfectionist, and so really like painting a scribble is harder than it seems. So we'll see what it'll feel like. We're gonna start with the gold and then move on to the eye shine. And then as you can see, she has some, Chun-Li type outfit going on now. So I did go ahead and I painted this, her outfit. Whoa, it's getting real bright. Let's see if it will adjust. There we go. So yeah, I did paint her outfit, at least the top part ahead of time, mostly because it requires a bunch of, work, and it's kind of annoying. And so here's the back, which I was surprised to find that Chun-Li does have a back design on her detail. Let's pull up another photo. It kind of varies depending on the art, and she's had so much art, but you can see, you know, she has these weird backwards S's. And there's only so much we can do because she doesn't really have sleeves, so I just gave her like an outline instead. Here's another image of the back, so you can see she's got some S's. And again, this is kind of like a more yellow gold, but I like this version of gold, so we'll see. And then the front, again, varies depending on what game she's in and illustration, but I kind of went off of this one, and so you can see that it's roughly, you know, it's really focused on my phone and not the kit. But yeah. So that's where we're at with this figure. So today the plan is to continue the face details. There's really not a lot left. This is an active face, so like, let's see, get this to focus. Yeah. So again, in that small range, that kind of middle brown detail and the lines here, these are not sealed yet. So if I do, you know, get thinner on them, they will wipe away. We don't really want that. But we're gonna finish up the details and add kind of a gold line across that brown, that lighter brown color. Add some eye shine and maybe some other dots. I'm thinking of dots like on her cheeks. I don't know yet, so we'll play it by ear. And then after that, we're gonna move on to painting the gold detail around her tattered clothes here, and I expect that to take up the remainder of the time. Really, it's nothing too crazy. Just in all of Chun-Li's arts, she's got, you know, an outline on her clothes, and so it doesn't matter what iteration, she has an outline on her clothes. So I'm planning to do that, and that should take us through most of tonight. So with that, there are a bunch of little things that I plan to add once this figure is sealed. So, but I'm still kind of like working it out and deciding on final details. So for now, that's all the painting I have in mind. But we'll again see what happens. So let me open up Twitch on my phone again, because I just keep closing it, because otherwise I keep turning around and looking at the camera, and we'll just get going. So two main colors. Well, let me show you the colors I did use on these eyes so far. So we used white, obviously. I mixed a lighter color, so oops, there we go. I mixed a lighter color, and that is kind of the light tone in the bottom there. Mid-tone, so this is the color that we applied. I'm gonna have to zoom out for a bit. Okay. This is the color that we applied last stream. So I think that was last Tuesday. We filled in her base color eyes, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but that's the color that I used. This is the darker color, so I mixed kind of a darker brown, but really we're in this realm of like orangey, you know, browns. And then this was her eyelash color. So that's kind of all the colors I've used so far. Then we're gonna add in the whites for her eyes, which is the Guy Notes Enamel color white. And we are also going to use some test stores. Oh boy, some people hate it, some people are okay with it. They're gold, and so I really like the test stores gold. I bought this on a whim on a sale. Whoops, saw my my shorts. Bought this on a whim when I saw a sale. So I was at Michael's, and they're getting rid of all their testers paints, and so this paint was only like $1.50 or something, and it's usually like $4. And so I'm not a huge fan of test stores. Usually I'm like, you know, they don't thin super great. They can be hit or miss. But their gold is really nice, I found, and it comes off with enamel paint, which would seem like something, well, duh, this is enamel paint. But the Tamiya enamel paint, their gold does not thin with enamel. It thins with lacquer for whatever reason. So let me grab that real quick. I have it right here. So this is another one that I usually use, Tamiya X12 Gold Leaf. but it does not thin with enamel, and it's also kind of a different color. You can see it's more of a brassy yellow, and this is more like orange toned. So this actually probably would have been good for Chun-Li because a lot of her gold details are more yellow toned, but I did not want to risk it with this paint because it's just not happening. So we will be using Testor's Gold, which worked really well for me for her top, and so I'm fine with using it on the other parts of the outfit and her eyes as well. So we're gonna shake it up and then get going. And let's see. Again, I'm gonna have to kind of try to play it by ear here. No matter what, it seems like what angle I put it at, my hand gets in the way because I'm left-handed. And so I tried to put the camera a little higher this time so you guys can see things, but it's tough. All right, with this gold, I usually don't really put it into a paint pot at all, like a little tin. I usually just use it straight out of the bottle. Let me open it up and show you guys what it looks like before we get going. It's a good view. Okay, we'll see once I start moving around. That's the only problem I had when I was looking at the test setup. So this is the gold. You can see, wow, it is gold. It's pretty beautiful. It's very like well mixed out of the bottle, so, or at the top, and so the pigmentation is really fine. It just kind of looks like a little pot of gold, and so so far, you know, I've had really good experiences with it. It's just so inconsistent. Like I bought a bronze from them as well, and the bronze is just crap, and so it varies from like bottle to bottle and paint to paint. Just, you know, too difficult. All right, so anyway, I'm gonna put this paint kind of on the side here and then dip into it as needed. Again, we're not really gonna be doing too much with it. I'm just gonna add a very faint line across the lighter parts of her eye, I guess, where I painted, and then probably a little tiny accent dot in the corner there, but we'll see. I got a hair here. Okay. Okay. So let's just grab a little. Usually I use another brush for this, so we'll also see how this goes. Yeah, it's really not coming off. Okay. So I'm gonna use another brush for this. This is my 3.0 round. Okay. And this one usually deposits a bit more color than I'd like, but we're gonna wipe it off anyway, so it's fine. And really just don't want to put too much down, especially because we have that other brown line. Okay. And the other one. Okay, it's a little thick, but that's fine. We'll wipe it away. But you can see it gives her eye kind of an interesting look so far. I'll see if I like it. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna put that there and dot there. Okay, so let me let that dry for a bit and we'll see if I like it. I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to do this step, so we'll have to see once it dries. This is really the final stuff, so you can see right now it's a little thick. Once we thin that line out quite a bit, could be different. If not, I might just put a more of an orange tone or something there. I'm not sure. I keep saying I'm not sure for this kit, but I'm really not. This is all improv. All right, and I guess at the same time, well, no, you know what? I don't usually like to mix things at the same time if they're roughly in the same area. So like I was gonna put her eyes, that white dot here, but I think I'm just gonna wait till that paint dries. It really won't take that long. And we could start the other piece, but I don't even think that will be necessary. So really we'll just wait kind of a minute or two and let this settle out just a little bit. So hope you guys have all been well. Hope that life is good for you. You're probably wondering how much more of this stream there will be for this kit, and the answer is not much. I am anticipating finishing this figure either on the Thursday stream or on the next Tuesday after that, so there really isn't that much left. This is what we're doing tonight with the eyes is what I'm expecting to be completely done after we add the eye shine. That's usually my last step. So with that, with the metallics, there are a couple other minor things I wanted to do on this kit. Mainly was considering if I wanted to add those armbands that she had. So Chun-Li has these, you know, kind of spiky armbands that come out like so. And so I wasn't sure if I wanted to add those on this kit, but when I started doing kind of a pre-assembly on it, I found that it looked like it was missing something. So what I did consider, you know, I considered painting them because you can do that, but I might just use, let me pull it up, a little bit of paper. So I have some black like paper that I cut, and I was thinking of just wrapping it around her arm as kind of an armband. And that really did kind of work. So I might just do that. It's pretty simple. It's not something, you know, too crazy that you need to do. It does not solve the issue of the spikes, which I'm still like working out, but you can see like that. It does look pretty cute. And so I think I might end up doing that. I'll just have to cut them and we can do that on the Thursday stream. Oh, there's also the base. So I don't really know if I'm gonna show the base on camera or what the heck I'm gonna do for the base. I'm thinking at this point like still dojo wooden floor, but not 100% sure. I have a few ideas and a few materials that are sitting up on the top of my shelves right now, but again, in the works. And the last thing I think that I was gonna add on this kit is once I thought about it, so I remember saying that I lost her little hair tendrils. This kit does come with little hair tendrils. I lost them, but thankfully for me, all of the Chun-Li art I looked at made me realize she does not have those hair tendrils. Her hair is up because she is a fighting woman, and so I'm not even gonna worry about that. Like, forget the hair tendrils. This kit isn't, you know, really that big of a deal for that anyway, and so we're not going to make the hair tendrils, but I am thinking and I'm planning to add her little earrings. So we're going to add little earrings to her, and I do have some leftover supplies for that, so we'll just use some pearls stuff for that. Let's see, use tiny beads of hot glue for the spikes. That's a good idea. I did like briefly consider making little spikes, and so there's multiple ways you can do it, but though that sounds like an easy way to do it, which I will have to experiment and see how that goes. I did also make like really tiny spikes the other day out of putty. So you can see my tiny spikes here. Yeah, milli putt. Yeah, so this would be the milli putt option, where I just mashed a bunch of tiny triangles together and we'll see if it works. But now that I'm thinking about it, these tiny triangles might be too small, given the larger, you know, size of armband I want to use. So I might have to make some more tiny spikes, but that's another option. That was my first one, other than like making tiny paper cones, but it was way more difficult than I had expected, given like the size of them. So I think that tiny like putty spikes might be the option, but we'll see. Again, and I might not even do any spikes. I don't know yet. It's just like a lot of work that I always give myself. Anyway, think we're good. We're gonna continue now because this should be dry. Yep. ones that I bought in terms of like for like oil painting. So this is another really small one, but you can see the edge is kind of frayed out here, and this is an 18-0, so you know, even this one is smaller. But the Tamiya one is pretty high quality and it keeps its point, so as long as you store it, you know, and take care of it properly. Okay, put both my feet on the ground here. Okay. So we're just refining and cleaning up small lines here. Hopefully when I move it around you guys can see the little gold shining line, because it is showing up in person for me. Okay, a little bit.
I have designed this speaker to amplify my thoughts so people will quit asking me for sandwiches. That should work, right? I don't know what you're talking about, Space Ghost. Go ahead, my show was...
Okay. That is looking pretty good. Let me clean this side up. Hello Downpour, how are you doing tonight? Good to see you here. Hope you have been doing well. We are working on face details right now, so really getting in tiny. Maybe I should just choose bigger kits next time. Probably make it a little easier. But everything I own is small, so. Yeah, we did a bunch of stuff. I'm not sure the last time you popped in, but I also did a good amount of work off camera over this past weekend on this face, so that might also be part of the missing things. Okay, I'm gonna look at this under my little lens. Okay.
How's it going, man? Ow!
Weird songs, very odd. This is my new playlist because I was getting sick of that other one. But did not pick up anything, so far we're good. Have not been canceled. Okay, let's check again. Really, I'm just trying to remove all the little artifacts from the gold, which is a bigger issue than you think. Okay. And the last thing is cutting this one down. This is a tough angle here. Okay, and check. That's pretty good. I get so picky about the straightness and curvature of my lines that, you know, I can often just sit here and go at it until I'm satisfied, and even then I feel like there's always something that I miss. So thankfully though, this one is good. I just got the curve where I liked, and so now I'm gonna adjust this little dot that I put up in the corner of her eye here. Really just wanting to make it a little bit smaller, and that's pretty much it. I just wanted a little tiny circle. And then we're gonna do the same to the other side as well. One thing I will note is that I don't usually paint brown eyes. That's not, you know, I don't usually paint brown-haired girls or brown-haired eyes, and so this has been really interesting, you know, looking at this kit and trying to get her eyes to look vibrant and spunky, and it can be a little difficult. So I have a lot of respect for people who can paint nice brown eyes. Brown is a fun color. Yeah, it really is. Brown is a little bit of a complex color, honestly, because you think, oh, you know, it's just brown. Like, it's pretty easy to mix and whatever, but really it's not. It's a culmination of usually two or more colors. And so, you know, mixing browns is always an interesting challenge because it depends on what colors you want to show through. Like, do you want a more orangish brown? Do you want a more purplish brown? There's different ways you can go about it. And so for this kit, I did mainly want to focus on kind of orange and reddish browns. I really like reddish brown. And so when I mixed these paints, these, you know, kind of creamy orange brown colors, I used a lot of obviously yellow and red, a little bit of white, and I did use the Tamiya brown as well. Tamiya XF64 red brown. This is a new color that I've never used before, but I bought it for thinking it might be handy, and sure enough, it was. So I added a bunch of that in as well. Okay, let me look at this up close. That's pretty good as well. The only thing that bothers me is that there's a tiny bit of a line coming out of this. And in like full discrepancy here, the stuff that I'm like talking about and looking at now, I'm literally using a magnifying glass. Like, I'm looking at it that close. So really it's not going to show up at all under the regular human eye. But I find that my kits look a lot better because macro photography is a thing, or just, yeah, zooming in up close. Everybody likes to do that for figures now, so it's easier for me to try to make sure it looks good even under photography. Okay, so let me look one more time, but I think we're pretty much good on that portion of the eye. Tiny bit that I'm gonna wipe off on the bottom here. Or not bottom, sorry, the circle. Okay. And I'll show you guys this after. Oh, I think what's happening though is I'm accidentally wiping off some of the brown line. So let's do this. Okay. Yeah, still good. Okay. Minus this giant hair. This is good now. So let's zoom up close real quick and see if it looks okay. Yeah, it's pretty good. So a nice outline. You can see that this line is a lot thinner than the one over here, and so really the goal is just to try to get these both looking the same and to give it a little bit more definition. There's also some weirdness happening here. Let's see, there's nothing like disappointment of taking a photo and zooming in. Oh, tell me about it. So a good kind of standard thing to do for your kits in general is definitely take photos, you know, along the way of the process. Because yes, cameras are very cruel. They will show you every flaw right away in your face, and there's kind of no way to escape it. And so my phone camera is a Samsung, and it's kind of the same way. It takes photos of everything I don't want to take, like it focuses on everything I don't want to focus on. And so I often, you know, can correct things thanks to that, but it's still at the same time, it's like, why are you doing this to me? I thought I had something nice painted here, and then you took this photo and it's just garbage. Okay. I might adjust this just a little bit, but so hard as hell. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna stop here. I can always do this off camera. So we're gonna move on to the other side now. This side, same deal. We're gonna thin the line, and then actually I'm gonna start out with this little circle, and then we'll move on to the line. Let's see. You just finished your first kit. Congrats! Awesome! But you haven't taken photos yet. Any tips? Lots of them. Oh boy, where would I even start? I think the number one thing, the mistake that I see usually is improper lighting. That's a huge one. Improper focus is another one. And I guess placement. So like image placement would be another big one. Full disclosure, I am not a figure photographer. There are so many talented artists out there whose specialty is photography, and they've got all the lenses and the setups, and they make the dioramas, and they do, you know, everything. But for pure photography, those are kind of the main things I'd recommend. Lighting, I'll go through those first, and then like one other additional thing I think is really important. And I'm not going to paint right now just because I think it's so important to talk about this. So improper lighting is usually my number one like issue. People will judge your photos and your paint job on how well lit your image is, and if it looks dark and grainy, you know, your kit is not going to look quite as well. Yes, it hides imperfections to some extent, but like you can also kind of assume, right, that like something might be going on here. And so good lighting is a big one. I usually these days use a ring light along with a combination of like little lamps that may or may not have filters on them. It depends on, you know, what I'm photographing and the kind of lighting that I need. But they're not expensive lamps. Like the two lamps that I have, I literally bought for $5 each. And so with lighting, I do recommend buying a light box or making your own. It's very easy to make your own with like a cardboard box and some white paper. I have one that was gifted to me, and so I use that one, and I have been using that one since I pretty much started taking better photos of my kits. So it's been a long time. So I do recommend investing in a light booth or a light box and lights. Those will be the big things, and that will take you pretty far. What was the next one? I know one I said improper positioning, and so when you're playing with your camera, you want to be sure you're taking photos and trying to get things, you know, using the rule of thirds or fitting it properly inside of the frame. And so if you've got a square here and you're wanting to show the face, you know, put it in the middle. Like that's obviously where the focus is. Sometimes I see like kit photos and it's got this square here and their kit is like all the way down here. And so it's like, what are you doing? You know, the focus of this is your figure. And so, you know, place your figure in the middle. You know, look at photos of professional PVC and those types of setups they do. They usually obey it being in the middle or some sort of rule of thirds. So I do recommend that. What was the other one? I don't even remember at this point. Focus? Yeah, I guess focus goes along with, you know, the proper positioning. So your camera, if you're just getting it, may have auto settings. You can use those at first, but the more you get to know your camera, the more I recommend going into manual and adjusting things that way. So my camera or my photo quality really jumped once I started playing around with the manual photos, the manual settings, I guess, and adjusting things like ISO and exposure, choosing the focus point I wanted, etc. But the big one that is not on the list and is kind of a separate skill entirely is post-processing. And that is something that I don't see that many garage kit builders using to their advantage, which will really set you apart. All of the professional photographers you see getting images of the day on MFC, etc., have post-processed their image. They have gone into that image, whether it's a JPEG or a RAW file, and they've adjusted the saturation, they've increased or decreased the exposure, they've sharpened certain parts, they've burned certain parts, they've taken the image out and put it into something else and composited it. There's so many things you can do to really adjust it. It always seems like cheating. Normally, I would say, I don't know what I'd say. I'm not sure I would consider that cheating, to be honest, because really, when you're taking a photo from your camera and it shows up on your screen, a lot of times, at least for me, I'm not seeing those colors on the screen that I'm seeing in real life. And so post-processing helps you get to those more true-to-life colors. Depending on your monitor, of course, there's so many factors. But, things like brightening a photo or, making the colors more like what you're seeing in real life, that is the type of processing that a lot of people aren't doing that I think their photos could really benefit from. I also do take advantage in my photos to remove dust. So the dust just happens on figures. It happens on paint jobs. It's not embedded in your paint job, but almost always when I'm photographing a kit, I've got like a stray hair or something that just like somehow pops up on the kit. And so I do take the effort to remove hairs, tiny hairs on my kit. It's often a pretty time-consuming process, but the way I see it, they're not like mixed into my paint job, so why would I put them in my photos? That doesn't make sense to me. I spend so much time making sure my figures and the paint jobs don't have hair in them, so for it to show up in a final photo, it's just when I'm trying to do something, I remove that for sure. But anything else, if you want to get creative with it and adjust other things, that's honestly, you're the photographer. I don't think for a lot of us, other people will be seeing your work in person. So, unless you're displaying it at a model expo or it's a commission kit and you're shipping it off to somebody, nobody's gonna know if you removed the dust out of your paint job, that wasn't there in the first place on your photos. Nobody's gonna know that you brightened your image a little bit because your room was so dark, There's so many things that we can do in photography to improve the quality of our photos. And I think that, this is me again. I'm a super amateur. I do this as a side hobby. So figure painting is my hobby. Photography is the hobby of that hobby. So I, am still learning things all the time. But those are things I would definitely recommend. Get comfy with a post-processing software, and at least at the very bare minimum, try to lighten your figure up and use the rule of thirds. Hope that's what I'm saying properly. It always gets dark, and so, or not dark, already. It always gets late here, and so I'm not sure if that's the right, yes, it is the right term. Yeah, obey the rule of thirds and focus, etc. Those are what I'd recommend. If you ever have any other questions, though, feel free to ask. I'm going to continue painting now that my minor rant is over, but that's what I got to say about that. And I also don't think you need a fancy camera setup. Oh, actually, let me bring up my Twitch, my stream. I don't think you need a super fancy camera. There are actually many cell phones these days that take incredible, high quality photos. I do personally use a DSLR, and so I can't say, whether an iPhone will be best suited for your needs, or, if a DSLR is better for you, but I do use a DSLR. I use, you know, just one camera that I've gotten really familiar with, and so that's kind of my go-to. But yeah, you don't think you need to invest in this crazy like $3,000 setup in order to take figures of your garage kits. It's not really something that you need at all. Or if you don't want to take photos at all, just get one of your photographer friends to take them for you. That is also something I've seen people do. So you can avoid that step entirely, because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to spend all that time painting your kit, prepping it, etc. And then on top of that, to have to like learn how to take photos, learn, you know, figure photography, learn post-processing, etc. That's something that a lot of people don't want to do. So if you want to do, you can do as much as you want to, right? In the end, it's your figure, so no one's really gonna judge you either way. If they do, like, just ignore them, honestly. I don't think I've ever judged someone for, well, I probably have. To say I've never is always an exaggeration, but you shouldn't judge people on their camera setup, because like things can happen. $3,000 cameras are shiny. Yeah, they are. If you do have funds and you're ready to spend, I do also recommend buying a macro lens. I do not have one, but a lot of figure photographers use macro lenses for their photography, and that's basically an additional lens on top of your camera that lets you zoom in much closer and capture all that detail. So my photos I'm starting to see the lack there of the macro lens, and one of my dreams is to get a macro lens, so maybe someday. Alright, we're working on this other line now, so just slowly thinning it out. And also trying to make sure I stay in this frame of focus. Let's see. Oh god, yeah, Rat Raider. Oh no, it make me laugh with that. Yeah, after all that, you spend all that time, you upload to Instagram, and then you're just fucked, and it compresses the whole thing down. I have been there, done that. Yeah, that is, every social media platform is going to be compressing your image, and so I just highly recommend uploading it in the largest size that they allow their dimensions. I think Instagram's is like 1000 by 1000, is it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure at this point it was 1000 by 1000, which is pretty small, all things considered, when you know your cameras are taking 6400 images. But yeah, what I used to do is just let Instagram compress the image for me, but I don't do that anymore. I resize it and then upload it to their like max allowed dimension, and that does help. That way you don't get any of that compression going on. Twitter also has different dimensions that they allow. The problem with Twitter, I found, is like you have to balance the auto focusing, or like the auto crop they do, with the image size. So Twitter is still something I'm trying to get a hold of. And Facebook also compresses images, so usually I upload to Facebook in like either 1000 by 1500 or 1500 by 1000, and that seems to be a good size that they don't compress. It also allows people to look at the photo in full size and, you know, not see any fragmentation, pixelation of the image. But the thing is, social media, like, they also change their size requirements all the time, and so we really, like, every time I take photos, I have to Google what the current pixel size allowed is. That's a whole other ballgame, like uploading to social media and trying to play that. Okay, I'm just adding like a little bit of paint here and there because I keep wiping it off. But really, when you're just starting out and you're just wanting to show your work, you don't really have to worry about any of those things. No one's gonna look at your image and be like, oh my god, there's a little bit of pixelation. You know, you put a little bit too much exposure on that. At least that's what I tell myself, so hopefully it's true. The golden rule for anything, I guess, is that people really don't care as much as you think they do. So most people will just look at something real quick and be like, hey, that's cool, and then move on. And you may be surprised too what ends up, like, the more you paint, the more you'll find out which kits of yours people like more so than others, because there's definitely kits I've painted where I did not expect them to become as popular as they were. There's like literally no reason in my mind that certain kits of mine would be, you know, liked and favorited, despite them not really being like major characters, I guess. So like Astolfo, you'd think Astolfo would be like super popular, but I've had other kits that are, and usually it's the more niche figures that like people can appreciate differently. It's just weird. People's, you know, what they like can vary so much, and the kits that I like the most on my desk and in my cabinets are not what other people like, and so just paint what you want. Take photos of what you want. Okay. Just slowly wiping off this gold here. It really is an interesting like color to work with because the pigments come off so slowly. And they just kind of shift around in the solution, so. The goal now is to try to get this line as thick as the other one, which is a tough task. Okay. Just doing really bit by bit by bit here. You can just barely have any solution on here, honestly. Like, just the tiniest bit of thinner will just wipe this stuff off. So, okay. Oops, sorry. I don't know what was happening there. Need to back up, go more gremlin. Probably zoomed in on my head. Okay, I'm gonna look at this up close real quick. And it's still a little bit thicker. Gremlin. Yeah, I'm like hunched over, like completely. But it's okay, because I did ab exercise today. Getting there. Okay, and then it dissolves. Let's see, I can work this to my advantage maybe. Oh, that's my dog. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more gold. Yeah, did you hear Missile? That was funny. I'm gonna need to shake this though in order to do that. Okay, just a tiny bit more, but okay. Oh yeah, he does do that. Record the echo. Okay. And a little more here. Whoops, that was all on her side of her eye. Okay. Wipe that off. Yeah, these gold fines are gonna be a pain in the butt to try to remove everything. That's not gonna happen on this stream. Okay. Yeah, let me look at this now. I like the thickness of this line a little more than, well, no I don't. That's a lie. Okay. Try to thin this out a little more. That's pretty good. There's a tiny bit I'm gonna put in the kind of top portion of her eye here. Just want to deposit enough particles where I can't see light brown part on the top. I don't know if that makes any sense. Really what I'm doing is I'm just following the previous paint job that I put down and kind of outlining other areas. That's something that I typically do in my work. So I don't know if you would say it's my style or what, but I like to outline lots of things, so. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's see. Unfortunately, it just seems like I got two different styles going on here. I'm not sure. Let me look at my image I took. So this actual figure. Okay. Oops, and of course I shut down my comments as well. Okay. Alright, so gonna work on curving this line a little bit because it looks like what's happening is I made it a straight line, but again, it's more of a rounded brown part at the middle here. There we go. Okay. Tamiya paint. Hello, Mashiro. Not sure what you mean by that comment. You just are not into Tamiya paint, or you like it. What's happening here? Hey, thank you for the follow, by the way. We are working with enamel paint right now, actually, and so we are using Tamiya. Tamiya does have an enamel paint line, and they also have their acrylic paint line, but I'm using Gaia Notes and Tamiya primarily. So these are two examples. This is Tamiya, this is Gaia Notes. And I also have test stores, which is contentious among some modelers, but I enjoy using their gold. I've found that the bottle, at least the bottle that I purchased, is pretty good. So been using that as well. Yeah, Gaia Notes a little hard to find, huh? This one is, I bought these bottles off of Steel Model, and so thankfully a little bit of enamel paint goes a long way, so I don't really have to restock a lot of times for my Gaia Notes. But I did have to buy some more white recently, so I stocked up on the whites. But yeah, right now we're just painting face details. Very kind of last step for this figure, at least in terms of the face. And let me look at it. I think we're actually pretty good for that line. Yeah, there's a little bit more cleanup on the left eye, I guess right when we're looking at the camera. But I'm gonna wait to do that until later, just because it's mostly removing off these tiny gold particles. So, with that out of the way, we're gonna move on to painting the whites of her eyes now. So, kind of the last step that I usually do in my garage kits, just because I do, whoops, I spill some thinner. Let me clean that up real quick. There we go. I do work layer by layer, so a lot of times, you know, whites are the last step. It's the one thing that shines, and you really just kind of want it to be the focus. So you may know or may not notice that the more layers of paint that you put on, the more your colors are kind of gonna get dulled down. And so we started out with a really bright white here, but you can see now it's kind of muted down into a duller gray color. And personally, I like this approach just because, like, the whites of eyes in your eye socket is not a super bright white. I do feel like this gives it a little bit more of a realistic look, but for some people that's not really their thing. So this is just how I paint eyes. There's plenty of other ways to do it to make, you know, the whites still bright, you know, etc. I'm just kind of ranting at this point. So we're gonna get a little paint pot, put some whites in it, and just kind of go from there. I am planning to put the white of her eye up in the corner here and right here, and you'll see quite immediately that it will really like start to pop out. See, I wish it could make my eyeliner that clean. Just take a lot of practice and a tiny brush. So really, I do so highly recommend this tiny brush, at least for smaller kits, you know. Just having small pointed brushes is so helpful when working with this kind of paint and these techniques. So I'm gonna put this face up just real quick because I don't want to get a bunch of white on it, but we're gonna mix out some white real quick. Okay, make sure that my paintbrush is clean. I did use some brown before, so you can see it's not totally clean. So I'm just gonna wipe that out with thinner first. And again, this is my junk brush. You can see it's been battered to hell. Just so unfortunate, but I use it for mixing stuff, so. Okay. Just using a lot of thinner here, but that's fine. Okay, and what I'm also gonna do is just kind of wipe off the handle a little bit because it can get kind of gross. So I do try to kind of work with the handle a little bit too and keep that clean. You can see a lot of stuff comes off. Okay, so let's just get some white here. This is just pure Gaia Notes enamel white. You know, nothing fancy here, just white. But we do want to make sure it's thinned to a very specific consistency. So we don't want it too runny, or else we're not going to be able to form those, you know, shine lines or shiny, you know. Yeah, it still looks like there's a little bit of brown in there, but that's fine too. Again, it doesn't have to be like exact, but okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of brown in here, but the whole eye is brown, so whatever. A little bit more. So I'd say that's about good to start with. We can adjust from there. You can see there's some air bubbles that have formed in this because I'm kind of like mixing it in a circle. If you want to minimize the air bubbles, I found that just brushing it like this, you know, when you're mixing paint, that can help reduce them. You just don't want a bunch of air bubbles to show up in your paint job. So, all right. I think last time when we worked with the Made kit, I used a spotting tool. There was like a spot. And this is a tool that nail artists use sometimes to get really like fine dots. I'm not really gonna mess with that this time. I'm just gonna use my paintbrush because I do want to try that squiggly line thing that I showed you guys earlier in the stream, and then we'll go from there. So we'll try it out and see. I think this should be okay, but can always adjust it. All right, so I'm gonna use my 3.0 again. This is the 3.0, so. Resin or model kit. This is a resin kit, so unpainted, unprepared resin, and focus of my channel is to paint these kits and build them, and so it has been a long time. I think we're 40 something hours into this kit, but we're finally at the point where we're finishing up details, so you're really catching the tail end here. Okay, let me move this here. Already a little air bubble. Let's see. And I'm gonna shift this kind of white around a little. I usually make it a little bit bigger than I intend, and then I wipe down to the area I want. Let's do that for now. Okay, yeah, this other one. So I'm making this kind of squiggly for now because we're gonna adjust things and make it even more squiggly later. That will make sense. I'll show the image again once we bring it up. And let's see, where was the image? Let me grab it real quick. Okay, I also had a really tiny dot next to it, so put that there. And okay, definitely gonna have to do some adjusting, but as a kind of reminder, this is kind of what we're going for. So not really a circle, we just kind of scribbled it. Oh, you can see my Bennett sad boy notification. But yeah, so we're going for not like a crazy circular perfect approach here. I kind of want to give it a little bit of a different look. So that should be good. I could probably use a little bit more down here. Just the main thing I do with whites is you try to get it all in one layer and so it can thin out equally. Okay. And let's wipe away this part. There's a little bit of white on her eyelash here. Okay, so let me get this zoomed up close so you guys can see kind of the imperfection of it right now. So here's where we're at. And that's mostly what it's gonna look like. We're gonna clean it up just a little bit. But you can see adding that eye shine, oof, it just changes the look completely. Here's a little bit farther away without the, let's see if I can make it a little darker. Yeah, so here it is a little bit darker. And you can just see that that eye shine really brings out the eyes so much. It's really the focus really of the figure and what your face is drawn to. And she's kind of bald here, so here's what it will vaguely look like when the hair's on. Oh, it's not glued yet, so there we go. Minus the shading. Yeah, she's looking cute. Still, whoops, a little bit more work to do, but really starting to look like she has life, so that's a good thing. I'm gonna close off this white paint bottle, and then we can start the final cleanup here with the face. Yeah, she is kawaii, is what I would say. That's the goal here, to make her cute and feisty. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do, and it might be a little too early to do this, so I'll have to see, but I'm just gonna start wiping away certain portions of the white and really get things closer to how I want them. Eye shine can also vary, you know, you can make it as big or as small as you want. You'll get very different looks depending on how big or small you make it. And there's no right or wrong to it, I will say that. Because anime eyes come in many different flavors, you could say. Okay. This one, we're not really going off of any particular image of Chun-Li. Again, this is not actually Chun-Li, this is just a kit inspired by her, and so, and also, like, I have no attachment to the character that is actually this kit, so this is just an opportunity for me to transform this into some sort of OC hybrid and show you guys some more techniques. So, okay. One thing that I do try to do though is make sure that the eye shines are kind of consistent, which might be hard here. So, meaning they're placed in the same area for both sides of the eye. But one eye here is looking like kind of bigger than the other one, and so it might be a little tough to do that. The other thing is removing any whites off of the eyelash, because that's obviously not a place where your eye is gonna have eye shine. Another thing that can vary depending on the character and the eyes you're painting is if your eye shine has an outline. That can happen sometimes too. So really all I have to say to that is look at images of anime eyes and you'll start to see there's lots and lots of little things about them that are different as you get more familiar with them. Okay, I'm gonna poke at this a little bit. There seems to be something here. Okay. Whatever is happening here. Oh, I think it's that gold. It's like, what is this stuff on her? But just gold. Okay, so it's looking like kind of weird. Usually I like to be kind of like perfectionist about it, but for this eye shine, it's the intention is to make it kind of scraggly and just there. So I'm just gonna poke at it a little bit with my paintbrush and get certain parts a little more jaggedy than others. And the good thing is, you know, you can do whatever to your kits, and you can always explain it as being intentional. So if someone asks me, why does the eye shine look like that? It's because I chose to do it that way. It's not because, you know, I got lazy or didn't feel like it. Or if I did get lazy, I can still say it's intentional. So, you know, things you can do. Cheats. Okay. So this is pretty cute. Sorry, I'm getting in there again. Let's zoom out. Okay, so this eye is a little bit tougher because there's not as much space between the eye socket and the inner part. So what I mean by that, let me zoom in a little closer so you guys can see what I mean. So what I was saying is I usually like to make my eyes kind of symmetrical. And so, you know, one eye shine is the same eye shine size as the other eye shine. For some kits, that's not quite possible, either due to how they're sculpted or just how it looks, etc. In this case, these eyes are sculpted, and the placement of the eye socket makes it so that the eye shine here is always going to be closer to like her pupil area, if that makes sense. And so you can see here the white on this eye shine, there's a little bit of a gap before it reaches the kind of middle black pupil. The other side does not have that, and that's because the spacing from here to here, like we have more room to work with here or not quite as, sorry, we don't have as much room to work with here, but we're not placing the eye shine here, we're placing it here. And so, does that make sense? Like there's less room here for the eye shine and here than there is compared to here on the outer side of the socket and over here on this side of the socket. So really it's kind of like, it's a curved surface. So you have more room, kind of the middle, and then less room as you go in towards the eye. Yeah, it makes sense, right? And so the other way too, there's less room here, and then there's more, and then over here you have the most room. So no matter what, like this eye shine is going to touch the middle sclera there, or the middle eye pupil. Just kind of things to be aware of when you're painting eyes if you're trying to get things exact, but it's not quite looking like, you know, why aren't these the same? Why isn't it symmetrical? Well, you know, when you're working on curved surfaces or sometimes kits that aren't perfect in the first place, it can be tough to get that. So, and I don't know what happened, but some thinner got here, so I'm gonna wipe this down a little bit. So I'm gonna look at this eye shine one more time and then move over to the other one. For whatever reason, this, I think when I was poking at it, it got a little bit thinner on it, so. Okay. Alright, and we're gonna touch the other one now, which I'm pretty happy with already, but let's see if I can just make this side a little bit smaller. Yeah, just kind of poking again at it. Again, being really careful not to touch any of the other details that we put on, like the brown line or the gold. All of those will affect how the kit looks, and you don't want to have to reapply it. I'm going to add also a little bit more shine, kind of in the towards the center of her eye, just a tiny bit. At this point, it's just your artistic interpretation. So there's no right or wrong here. And if I'm saying, oh, that's good, that's just, I'm looking at it and that's how I like it. That's the cool thing about kits, right? Is you can just kind of do whatever you want, honestly. The only thing that matters is when you feel like you're done and it's good, and that's where you should be proud and finish up your work. This type of eye shine is not something I usually do either, so this is what I think is good might be. I'm not sure yet. Spin this out a little more. I really try to get the eye shine on in one layer, but it's just this one, I don't know if that's possible. I get too close again and then I killed it? I saw my head, so I'm gonna zoom back. But I can see the camera fine. Let me know if you guys still can't see. I wonder if it reset my focus too. Should be okay, I think. Oh, I see what happened. Okay. My cords are getting a little loose here and I think I backed up into one. But we should be good. Oh, as I punch my camera. Okay. So, zoom back. Yeah, have a good night, Rebel Star. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully we'll be streaming later this week. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be able to, but you never know. So, hope you can make it. And thank you again for tuning in. Considering where we're at now, we got, half an hour to wrap this up, and we will be wrapping this up very shortly. I'm about happy with this. And then we're going to transition into painting the golds on her outfit, which is pretty straightforward. We're just going to put a bunch of metallic around the edge and then start cleaning that up. But given, how long it's taken to do this, might need to extend that into the next stream as well. Okay, let me look at this real close. A little bit to remove here. Oh, I think that's a tiny hair. Let's see. Yeah, it was. I think I pulled it off. There's a little bit over here. Actually, that might be the gray of her eye. Nope, that hair is still there. So that's the bane of my existence, is like finding tiny hairs and then trying to pull them out, but it pulls out some of your paint job and it's just, it sucks. There's only so much you can do, even when you're working with such a medium like this. Okay, that's pretty good. Let me close my eyes real quick and then I will look at it with fresh eyes, because when you stare at things for so long, your eyes start to get a little bit like they don't focus quite as well, or certain things look faded and others don't, etc. So when you're painting eyes and painting details, I do recommend that you maybe every 20 minutes or so just close your eyes or stare across the room and give your eyes a chance to kind of refocus, because sometimes I just sit here for hours and I paint and then I just get up and my eyes are so focused for nearsighted things that everything else looks blurry. Okay, should be good now. And that is pretty darn cute now that I look at her. There's a little bit of a I don't know what I would say. It's like a paint ridge. It's not totally flat, but once I spray this with thinner and gloss top coat, that should be fine. So I think this is pretty darn cute. And I think that I'm done with the face at this point. Again, this is not finished face. It's, it still needs a matte top coat and maybe some blush or something, but and maybe some little pastels around for the eyeshadow. But I think as it stands, I'm pretty happy with this. Let me put her little bangs on. That's good. So far, so good. And what I'll do actually is put her on her torso, because that's what matters. Let's see how that looks together. This hairband is going to be glued on, I swear. Pretty cute. That looks pretty darn cute. Just saying, you know, even she's kind of naked at the bottom, but here's what it will look like. Since these are magnetized, I can just kind of stick them in that side and that side roughly. Might have to position it a little better, but that's more or less what the face is gonna look like. And you can see those white highlights really tie everything together. And this is a very bright area, but yeah, that looks pretty darn cute, I think. So I'm pretty happy with that for now. What I usually do once I'm wrapping up eyes, and kind of in between every step of eyes actually, is I just walk away. So I think, you know, I'm happy with this, and then I give it time, because I like to mull things over. I think, oh, is that, you know, what if this is a little bit off, or what if you know, this area needs some adjustment. Sometimes I take some photos and come back to them and review them. So I will be reviewing this later. If I do like it, I will top coat the eyes and gloss them, and then that should pretty much cover these eyes. After that, we'll mask them off and then matte top coat the whole face, and that'll be part of the, you know, getting things ready to be glued together stage. So I'm gonna put this aside for now, and we're gonna move on just kind of for the rest of tonight and work on her clothing. So this is her tattered clothes, and what I want to do and what the goal is to put a gold outline around the whole thing. Pretty straightforward, not really any crazy mixing or anything required. Just gonna be applying paint and letting it dry, and then wiping the line down until it's a thickness I want. And we are gonna go for kind of a thin line, because this is her, you know, outfit here. And you can see I painted on a relatively thin line. I don't even know what I would say, maybe 0.5 centimeter. I even have a little thingy next to me. Yeah, it's about 0.5 centimeter line. This is hand painted, so you know, give or take. Some areas might be a little bit thicker than others, but that's the goal. So let's at least get this started, and I'm gonna shake up this gold again. All of this is gonna be applied with my 3.0 round brush. And both the top side and the underside, they do have that gold. That's just part of her outfit, I guess. You know, it's gold on both sides. So not really gonna pay too much attention to that. Well, I will do it, but really we're just gonna be applying gold and then wiping it off. So I may make adjustments depending on where this gold ends up. One problem I do have is like applying enamel and stuff onto these curved surfaces, because when I handle them, I tend to wipe off the enamel at the very end. So like the end, the tops here. So just something. And I'm gonna have to be very careful on handling this, because I do like to touch the edges of the kit like this. Okay. So we're just gonna go around the whole edge, and it does not have to be perfect, but we do want it at least a little bit close. And I'm gonna focus on the top, but then I'll probably go to the underside and do that as well. This is definitely gonna be, I'm gonna have to figure out a way to effectively hold this, because a lot of times I just sit the kit on the paper towel. I just love how nice and smooth this gold comes out. It really is, you know, so nice. The other gold that I do have that I also recommend and I've used before, I think I used it on the maid kit, is the Vallejo gold. So that is a slightly different gold. It does not thin in enamel. It kind of has trouble thinning in a lot of things, but I have used alcohol just a little bit to remove it. That is another alternative to hand painting gold that I recommend. I just don't have access to it right now to show you. Okay, I'm gonna hold this here, and that way I know that I applied the gold there. Oops, there we go. This gold also, I like how you can layer gold on top of it. So the Vallejo gold kind of has trouble adding onto itself. So you apply a layer and then maybe you took some off accidentally, and so you gotta put a little bit more on. It does not react well with that. Like, it'll wipe off some parts, and this paint does not do that. You can just kind of add more gold and it does not turn less dull. It's still just as vibrant. Can't believe I'm praising Test Source paint so much, but that's what it is. Again, highly situational paint. Cannot say the same for some of their other products. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna put this down and shake this bottle a little bit, because I am starting to notice a bit of pigment separation between the solvent that it's in this bottle. Cute though. It's just another little accent. Like, you could, you know, totally paint this as is and have it be simple, but I like adding a little bit of a different feature to this. Oops, I already felt my finger touching it. Part of the reason why I went ahead and did her top as well is because to some people this stuff is a little boring, because we're really just laying down the color and then wiping it away, and it's just one solid color and it's hand painting, and I'm not sure who cares about that. Just drags out this process. And it's time consuming. So like, I think though that detail on her top took me like around maybe 3 or 4 hours. So that's already like 2 streams worth, not really worth showing off. But I'm also a very slow worker, as you may or may not have noticed. Okay, almost there, at least for the top. Front part, I should say, not the top. And a good portion of this will already be covered in the bottom, but the underside. But we're going to check just in case. Okay. I think I just gonna leave it like this and then kind of paint around like that. Does not have to be perfect. Oops. Let's go this way. And I'll go swing just briefly. Gonna turn it. So I try to work like one way. So we're working kind of clockwise here. And I think after we finish laying down this color, it's probably where we're gonna have to stop tonight. Just because this does need a little bit of time to settle and, you know, cure down before I start wiping it away. I don't want to start rushing. Kind of wiping it the side of the brush there. Oops, sorry. I know my hand is blocking it this time, but we will work back around, so don't worry. You can also turn it. That helps too. Okay, and this part I'm gonna lift up because it's a little bit hard to reach here. Thankfully most of that's already covered, so. Do wish this gold was a little bit more yellow toned. There's only so much you can do. And I debated putting a clear yellow on top of it, but then I am I really gonna mask off all of this blue to lay down a clear yellow? And the answer is no. So it is what it is. I also find that golds don't really, out of the bottle, at least like this, don't really mix well with other colors. So the last thing I want to do is spend all this time mixing like a huge batch of gold with a tint of yellow. Okay, a little bit more here. Some of these are rounded edges, so it's kind of going to be a guesstimate here of, you know, is this really half a centimeter? When hand painting, you've got to give yourself a little bit more allowance. Like, it is very difficult, to get really, really precise paint jobs. I have so much respect for people who hand paint and can get like really awesome illustrations and things on top of their kits, because I don't know if I could do that at this stage. Maybe someday. I have a few ideas actually. There's one that I'm thinking about that will help me. It's a project that I wanted to do for a long time to kind of improve my painting skills in general. Not resin garage kit painting skills, but like actually painting skills. So we'll see. I don't know if that will be a stream thing or not, but there's a bunch of stuff I want to do once I wrap up all of my commissions and I have a little bit more time to focus on personal projects and school stuff. So just giving a rant of my life where I'm at. Okay, so this should be good now. Just get a little bit more here because it's starting to pigment in the bottle is starting to separate again. Okay. Yeah, that seems about right. You can see I've got little hints of gold on my fingers and stuff where it accidentally hit. So we'll have to be careful with that. So let's take a look after I clean off my brush. And I'm gonna put away this. Okay, so we'll just give this one a quick look. You can see already it's pretty cool. Definitely needs to do some cleanup. I like this thicker line, but unfortunately, because I already painted the top, I do want those lines consistent, and so I'm gonna try to get the line as thin as the one that's on her top. Hard to focus here. So that will be a task for next time. Unfortunately, not gonna have time to do that tonight since we spent a majority of the time on the eyes. But that's okay, because eyes are the fun and important part anyway. So I'm gonna end the stream here. Let's look at the face one more time though. Here's kind of where we're at and what we finished. So I would say at this point the face is pretty much done. I may or may not make a few tiny adjustments, but I'm really liking how this one looks. So thank you for those of you guys who tuned in for my stream. I am planning to stream again this week on Thursday. It will be the 16th of September. So we'll be kind of working with this because I will not have time tomorrow. Tomorrow's my school day. And then, yeah, doing probably, I don't know. We'll figure it out. This is the priority. So anyway, I hope you guys all have a good rest of your night. Thank you again for tuning in. And I hope to see you on Thursday. Have a good day or night wherever you're at. Bye-bye.